Step right up to your stock market meltdown. Black Friday discount deals here, folks. Brought to you by the insanity going on with China, the variants, and of course, hyperinflation. This has been an incredible way to kick off the long weekend here, folks. Gets kind of screwing around here for a little bit of fun. The portfolio, my entire portfolio, as many of you are going to see shortly here, is trading down. I'm going to say somewhere between $5,000 to $8,000 on this day. But first and foremost, before we start getting into the portfolio, before I start talking about what I'm buying, how I'm managing my accounts, because I've been dying to get some discounts here, been talking about it all week. Things have just been getting a little out of control. And honestly, just take a look at this. Take a look at this, guys. Bitcoin's down 8% still. Ethereum's down 10%. The global markets here, VTI, VOO, both down over 2%. Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Google, Facebook, all of my big tech giants down pretty drastically here. Let's see what's going on with Alibaba, somewhere down toward the bottom. Most of my Canadian stocks red. We did see a pickup in some of the pure pandemic plays, whether we're talking things like Zoom. Clorox was trading up today, guys, but where's Baba, man? Baba probably just getting tanked here. It's got, where did I pass it? Where's Baba? There it is. Yeah, down 2.5%, so not nearly as drastic as we would have thought, because China's still stirring the pot with some of the foreign stocks that are going on there. I'm not too in-depth on the knowledge, but that's not what I primarily want to talk about today here, folks. What I want to talk about is the stocks that I'm intrigued by, what I'm going to be doing next week, because I did not make any major purchases today. This was what my portfolio looked like on last week's update. From 353K, we almost ran to 360, and now we've pulled back to like the 350 range. So it's been pretty volatile this week, but still surprisingly stable. So I am not that intrigued by this market drop yet. I'm really keeping an eye on obviously like the Nvidias and things like that of the world. But what I did buy today, however, is I did pick up some Bitcoin on the dip. I am now at what? I think I'm at 12.7 or 12.8% of an entire Bitcoin. So I did pick a little bit of that up this morning. And again, guys, just to get into this, it is Black Friday. I want to help you out a little bit. If you guys want to have fun, you like the way I kind of track my portfolio, come on over to thechartmaster.com. You can support the channel a little bit. You buy one of our portfolio trackers, you get all of them for free. Use coupon code BLACK, B-L-A-C-K, for 50% off this weekend only. But let's get into this, guys, because I've been really dying to get into some of these broader market indexes that are growth related. I talked about ARK ETF the other day that actually rebounded a little bit today, ironically. But taking a look at the QQQ ETF, one that I used to own, I want to buy this one back, but it is just not on enough of a dip. I mean, we need to see pullbacks like we saw back here, guys. Like I really would love to see anywhere from a 5 to 10% pullback before I'm actually getting really giddy about some of these broader indexes. And again, let's take a look at something like Nvidia here, right? Like Nvidia is kind of added to my buy list. It's one that I've been watching aggressively, down 3.58% today, guys. I want to buy this as not only like one of these incredible companies that's going to give you exposure to the EV market, the metaverse, the gaming. I mean, it is an end-all be-all chip producer for a lot of reasons, right? So I mean, it's still trading up way too high. I'd like to see a pullback kind of below the 300 range, and I'll get a little bit more excited about it. But one stock I am going to be changing my ideas on is Facebook. I've come to realize that Facebook should absolutely be the largest position in my portfolio. Right now, as many of you recall, even with this drop, Tesla is still the largest position. In fact, I think it was getting closer to about a 9 or 10% weighting. But nonetheless, guys, after getting into the metaverse, I'm going to be ordering the Oculus. I'm blown away. There's so many use cases for it. I'm watching so many YouTubers come out and talk about the use factors for this, and I just don't think people have really woken up to how big the metaverse is truly going to be. And you're getting it on top of this already incredibly diversified company, and Facebook has the largest team working on the metaverse. They have a product, they actually have a network. Unlike something like an Nvidia that's kind of building out some of the software, none of those companies have the same retail exposure. I truly believe Facebook's going to have the impact on and the impact opportunity of. So I like it right at this price point, 23 PE. Can't really ask for much more than that. So on Monday, I'm hoping, it's probably not going to happen, and considering this is a pandemic play, I'm shocked that it sold off today, because you think with the metaverse and everything else coming out of the pandemic would only make this more of a pandemic play. So I'm glad it's trading down. I will probably pick up another 5 shares hopefully on Monday. And I'm also looking at adding back to my banks. I like the fact that banks are coming back down. I love these just for stability in yield. They've done incredibly well this year. I mean, TD's up 31%. Starting yield's 3.35. I do want to add some more TD. For those of you that are newer investors that don't own a lot of the bank stocks, or you're a Canadian, I highly recommend Canadian Imperial Bank. It's going to give you some of the highest yields out of the Canadian banks, and I love the security and the exposure this has kind of to the mortgage and real estate sector. But primarily in my corporate account, which we'll take a look at the individual accounts in a second, I do want to add Royal Bank. I have right now TD, I have TD, Canadian Imperial Bank, Bank of Nova Scotia, and I would love to kind of finish off my bank exposure by adding Royal Bank. So I am liking this pullback here. Starting yield's 3.33%. It is down 2.13% today. And aside from that, the only deal that I'm really looking to add to is Granite. I wish it would pull back more. This thing just keeps shuffling toward all-time highs. So if we do see a further pullback here, this is another one of these companies that'll do very, very well if this pandemic kind of has a round two for us, thanks to these variants. So I am going to add this. So again, Royal Bank, Granite Real Estate Investment, and Facebook are my primaries to add coming into next week. I'm also going to be taking a look at if the markets continue to trend this way and we see a further sell-off. That's when I'm going to be really paying attention to companies like NVIDIA, some of the ETFs that I like QQQ. I'm always keeping an eye on ARK, but again, I float these ideas around a lot. I'm very methodical about this, guys. You know, I don't make a lot of stock purchases, and when I do, it's primarily only in just a few handful of companies. So for me to add a new company to my portfolio, it usually takes me a little bit of time to build up to. So on that note, let's talk about a few of the accounts here. The hardest hit account by far today has to be the corporate account. It was sitting at almost, I think, 77, 78,000, and it has pulled back to 73, 74,000 today. And if we just take a look, it's really not that bad yet here, guys. I mean, I'm up on Tesla, still 60%. Google, I'm still up almost 9%. Facebook, it's pulled back a little bit, but you have to remember, I owned Facebook before I moved it to this account, so it kind of reset the buy price. So I would still be up pretty fantastically on the initial shares that I bought, but that is this account particularly, right? This is where I'm going to be adding Royal Bank. This is where I'm going to be continuing to scale Granite Real Estate Investment Trust. Now, I don't want to make this boring. I'm not going to get into the RRSPs. I'm not going to get into my managed accounts. I just want to show you my biggest accounts, the most important ones, taking a look at my TFSA. Surprisingly worth 161K. I did not pull back as much as I thought it would have today, but when we just take a look across the board here, guys, again, everything's kind of down 2% at the most. So you're down 2%. I mean, with the most, maybe 3,000 in this account, 3,000 or 4,000. So no major pullbacks in any severe way. I'm hoping I get a few more dividends in here so I can make that TD purchase and continue to add at some of these, I wouldn't call them discounts yet, but some of these more suppressed prices. But that is generally where we sit on this absurd Black Friday, guys. I know a lot of people have been looking at Alibaba here, getting kind of excited, but China just won't get out of the picture. They won't stop stirring the pot. So I would just be a little bit hesitant still with China and a lot of these really suppressed stocks. I know, guys, people like looking at these things as discounts, but you don't want to catch a falling knife. And I always have them on my buy radar. I know I've got some exposure through family. I really like Alibaba and a lot of these Chinese companies like JD.com. But the fact of the matter is if you're not already in them and you want exposure, it's easier to just sit on your hands and just let this news cycle roll its way through so you're not stuck catching a falling knife, and look for a resurgence within those Chinese stocks, because once the resurgence comes and we start seeing the news cycle shift and the general consensus shift, I don't mind if it jumps 15 or 20% because it's such a great discount. At least I know we might be headed in the other direction and I can actually start buying into it instead of kind of playing this falling knife game, right? So primarily, you guys can tell I'm going back into the dividend plays. Majority of my newer investments I'll be making over the next week. But I always come back to the same rotation, guys. I don't know why. I like Facebook. I have that exposure to these big techs. I'm not buying Tesla. If Google drops enough, it'll maybe come back on the buy radar. But for now, I want to pass the question off to you folks. What a wild Friday to head into this weekend. What do you guys think Monday is going to bring? Do you think we're going to kind of get through the variant scares, which again could be a pandemic 2.0? And if that kind of starts resurging in the minds of investors, this could just be the beginning. So don't rush. Take it easy here, folks, and start lining up your buy list, because this holiday season is coming to you. Stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll look forward to catching you tomorrow.